syncing with a database in the cloud. We have authentication working. And we have our notes all scoped by user. How about we add that delete button that we've been so excited about adding? I can tell you're still very psyched about that thing. It's going to be a little different than it was in the homework for those of you who did it, because now we have Firebase to contend with. So first we need the actual button. I suppose it should go on the form. Although that only does me good if the form actually loads up with the one we've selected, right? But we could make it work on the new one we add, at least. So somewhere on note form, maybe down where we have that save and new, we could have another button. Yeah. And in that button, we could have a font awesome thing with trash O. Do we have font awesome loaded up in here yet? It would appear we do not. We have not added that to this project yet. You may have, because I think it was in the static version. It was in the static version. So we can just add that to app CSS at the top. Oh no, there we are. We're importing font awesome. So what's the problem here? Button FA trash O. I don't see anything. What if I have some text in here? Delete. So I think my button is just being positioned somewhere funny. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, I'm not in localhost. Yeah, so on localhost, I have font awesome. Yeah, nothing changed out there. So I don't really love where it's positioned, but let's see if we can make it work before we worry too much about that. So we know we're going to have to change something in the app state. So we may as well go ahead and make a method up here for deleting things. So I'll put it down here. Or I could see, let's see, we have save note. I could just put remove note right underneath that. And I suppose it too should just receive the note as an argument. I will get a copy of my notes out of state using our fancy new friend, the spread operator. Yes, it should. Thank you. So what did you do for your homework to delete these things? People who did it. So delete, right? You can delete it at a certain key. That unfortunately doesn't do the right thing with Firebase. Because Firebase will only, if you remove something from it, it will assume, well, if this exists up here and they don't have it there, so I better push it back down. Instead, what we need to do is at notes and then that ID, right? Note.id. We need to actually set that to null. If we set that to null in our state, so the key is still there, but its value is null, then when we sync with Firebase, it will say, this thing should be removed. And that'll happen. So our button's in the form, so we are going to have to pass this down as a prop. So main already has a bunch of props. How about I do this? I'm going to make a variable called actions. That's going to be an object with all the props, well, at least these props that are actions we can take, like save note colon this dot save note, and remove note, this dot remove note. So then here's what I can do. Among my props here, I can get all the individual items out of this actions object using that same old operator. And they get added in the way that props work. This works. I can make an object of all my props and then spread them out in here so that my tag isn't quite as unwieldy. So especially if I needed to pass these to more than one component, that'd be really handy. But it already makes it a little more readable, I think. So inside main then, I have another prop I need to get to, right? Another couple of props. But I already have all my props here. Props.save note. So note form now also needs delete note, or remove note, I mean. So could I do this? Use that same trick? Just pass all our props down? Why not? So then in note form, which is a real component, so I use this dot props. On my button here, I can put an on click and call this dot props dot remove note, but I got to pass the note up, right? So I can make this an arrow function, or I could make it a named function. You can make it a named function or an arrow function. I don't know. Which one do you want? Let's go ahead and make, we have handle submit and stuff. So how about handle remove? We'll receive an event as well. And what we want to do is call this dot props dot remove note and pass in this dot state dot note. So on click here, we'll call handle remove. I've got some problems. Handle remove is not defined. This is a real component, so it is this dot handle remove. And let's see what happens. Let's start typing in here. It's creating a new one. That new one even shows up on Firebase. If I look at my database, underneath my user ID, here's my brand new one. If I click remove, that just seemed to clear out this. Didn't do anything here because I never actually finished the thing I was talking about, I think, when we were writing remove. Oh yeah, I did this and then I didn't save state, right? So this dot set state notes. Try again. add another new one. Removed it from the list. And I should only see 3 of them up in Firebase, and I do. All right, so we can at least delete the one that we're currently adding, just not one of the existing ones, because first we have to make clicking this do something, right? But basically, delete works. And as soon as we add a way to set the current node in that form, the delete button should work on it too. Agreed? It'll delete whichever one is in the state of the note form. So we just have to change the way that gets there. Delete notes.